Welcome. Welcome to Southminster Steinhauer United Church, where we are spiritual seekers united in community. We're coming to you today from our wonderful space here in South Edmonton. We're glad you've joined us as we together from various places create spiritual community with one another in this online time we share together. Wherever you are right now, in whatever physical space and whatever soul space you find yourself in today, we are here with each other to sing, to pray, to reflect on life within us and around us, and to seek what we need in order to live in this time in which we find ourselves. In the midst of all that life is right now, we create this time and space to still our minds and settle our spirits, to seek peace and wholeness as we share music and meditation, as we share stories and reflection. I'm here along with my teammate Chris New, and grateful for the presence of Brett and Andrea helping us with audio and visual today, and for Carolyn and Micah helping us with music. So we are glad to be with you and glad that you have chosen to take this time to be with us. I invite us to take a moment to think about the land that holds us, this land that we call home, this land that opens to feed us, this storied land that has witnessed and weathered so much, land that holds our generosity and experiences our greed, land that knows our cruelty and our compassion. I invite us each to take a moment to think about this place where we are, this place where our life is planted, this place we call home, and to think about those who have called it home for generations, those who were first to learn its wisdom, the teachings of its trees, its grasses, its rivers, its oceans, its sky, to take this moment to renew our commitment to live with one another in more reconciling ways, whether we live on treaty land or unceded territory. To learn, as we listen again today in this series exploring the wisdom of the trees, that we may learn to live more kindly, more closely, as we pray. We invite you to sing with us as we center ourselves in this time in which we are learning, sharing, being together.
Good morning. If you have a candle with you that you'd like to light with us as we light ours in our space, I invite you to do that. When we light our candles together, we express in a visual and symbolic way how we are community with one another. We're connected. We are, even though we're apart and not all in this same room together like we'd like to be, we are one. And this light reminds us of that. May our lights on our tables, in our hands, as we light them, may they remind us of the connection that we have, not just with each other, but with each living person, with each person that has come before, and each that will come after us. Our connection to the earth and all her creatures, to the land, and all that we see and experience. This light is our connection. May it burn for us, not just in this experience here, but may it burn within us as we seek connection with all. I invite you to read along or speak aloud these intentions that we'll share with one another as we seek to open ourselves to this time with one another and to the lives we wish to live. We embrace with gratitude the gift of life, the mystery of being, and the nudge toward transformation. In this day, may we strengthen our intentions to bring healing to hurt, peace to violence, beauty to ugliness, and love where there is brokenness. May we find the grace to accept ourselves, affirm each person's value, and bring simple kindness to the world. Let's find the courage to befriend change, balance our egos, and bring energy to living our highest values. We pray as those born of love and endless light. May it be so.
I'd like to introduce someone very special to you who's going to read our Time for All Ages story today. I'd like to introduce to you someone who's no stranger to those of us who gather regularly in this space at SSUC. I'd like to introduce Gilda Valley. Gilda's in her 10th decade of life, a remarkable human being who loves trees and animals and life itself. She attended university when only 5% of women in Canada were getting a university education. Back in the late 1940s, she attended the University of Alberta Faculty of Education, which led to a teaching career that spanned some 13 years in which she taught all grades except grades 7, 8, and 12. Gilda went back to university and obtained a Bachelor of Education in English Literature, and then went on to the University of British Columbia to study Bachelor of Library Science, and for 26 years served the University of Alberta Library Systems Technical Services. She also earned a Master's of Library and Information Science in 1990 and continued to place her gifts and skills in the University of Alberta library system until mandatory retirement. Since that, she's volunteered at the university archives and also with the reading program at Duggan School. She's played jazz music, has been a devoted musician and advocate gardener in the Yellowbird community in the complex where she has lived since 1980. She reads more widely than anyone I know, is a remarkable free thinker, lifelong learner, and since 2011 has been an active, involved member of this spiritual community. She recommended this book to us, The Night Gardener, and this is Gilda sharing that story with us.
Good morning, everyone. Chris has asked me to read this story to you this morning. It's called The Night Gardener. It's written and illustrated by two brothers, Eric and Terry Fan. They live in Toronto, and they've dedicated this book to their mom and dad. So let's go. I want you to take a good look at these first two pages, because the color and the name of the town, which is Grimlock Lane, tells you something about this community. There's a big change in this community at the end of the story, and we'll see what happens. On the next page, we see a kindly elder gentleman with a ladder. I wonder what that's about. And a little boy who seems quite lonely and alone, who's entertaining himself there. And in the next page, the elderly gentleman has propped his ladder against a tree, and he's choosing a pair of pruners from a collection that he has. So the name of this story is The Night Gardener. And on this page, we see that this town has an orphanage, and the elderly man is up on the ladder, and he's beginning to prune the tree. And then we see this lonely little boy looking out the window. His name is William. William looked out his window to find a commotion on the street. He quickly dressed, ran downstairs, and raced out the door to discover the wise owl had appeared overnight. As if by magic, William spent the whole day staring at it in wonder. And he continued to stare until it became too dark to see. That night, he went to sleep with a sense of excitement. And on the next page, we see this kindly older man surrounded by cats. I assume these are strays. One of them is rubbing up against the man's leg, which shows he's a very kind person, and he appears to have put down some feed for these cats. The following morning, William was not disappointed. Each day, William discovered a new topiary. For those of you who don't know what a topiary is, it's a tree that's been cut into a different shape. Next was a friendly rabbit, followed by a pretty parakeet. And then a playful elephant. Something was happening on Grimlock Lane. Something good. The next day, William dashed out of his house and followed the crowds only to find the most magnificent masterpiece yet. And this one took 2 trees to do. Children are playing in its branches, and there's somebody swinging on one of the branches, and people are admiring. Festivities continued long after the sun had set. As William was about to head home, he sees this kindly gentleman ahead of him. he spotted someone unfamiliar. Could it be? Could it be? And then, on the next page, he's following this kindly man into Grimlock Park. And the older man turned to William and he said, "There's so many trees in the park. I could use a little help." It was the night gardener. Under the light of a full moon, they worked deep into the night, and the next page shows them having a nap up in a tree, sitting in the crotch of a very large branch. I guess William went to sleep because there's the gardener carrying him down to the ground. When William awoke, he heard the sound of happy families walking by, and there was a gift from the night gardener, a pair of pruning shears with a gift tag on it. The whole town had come out to admire the night gardener's and William's hard work, and here we see all kinds of exotic animals. There's a giraffe, a camel, a rhinoceros, and a bear. Wow! Over time, the leaves changed. And then fell until there was no evidence that the night gardener had ever been to Grimlock Lane. So now we've got winter, but the people of the small town were never the same. And if you look at the street in this photo, in this page rather, and compare it to the first two that we looked at, you'll see such a difference. But the people of the small town were never the same, and neither was William.
The kindness of trees. Deep in the forest there stood a tree whose heart beat in the winter wood, who understood everything that was bad and everything that was good.
It extended long arms to woo you, as the winter wind blew and blew, and everything a child could think, the tree already knew.
And every time a boy was sad, the tree dropped a pine. And every time a god got mad, the tree roared in the wind.
In the dead midwinter night, the tree blew a hello, goodbye. When every child was asleep in bed, the tree sang a lullaby.
And when Christmas time came round, the tree song soared and soared.
And when gifts adorned the ground, the tree blushed and made a shh sound.
And people gathered round the tree to sing the winter song in harmony, one to keep the bright light glowing, a song of what we know without knowing.
It had a sad and piercing melody, a worry for the ash, sparrow, bee,
the polar bear, the ice melting, a worry for you, me, dear tree.
In the depths of the winter wood, the friendly tree stood kind and good, and breathed a word that caught the mood, a pledge, a promise, a plea for good.
A tree lies dormant in the winter. So how does it know when to wake up? How does it know when to put its energy back into producing buds that will leaf out in the spring? It turns out that trees have light sensors, much in the same way that you or I have sensors in our eyes. In the green stems, in the tips of roots, in their leaves, trees can see in red and blue light as well as in UVB radiation, and this enables them to register the length of daylight. But not only that, trees also sense the temperature. In the cold, they block the hormones and enzymes that produce new growth. And then, calculating if it's been warm enough for long enough, they allow the change in the balance of hormones and enzymes to promote growth again. All this amazingly naturally, all part of who a tree is. The thing about all this, though, is that a May snowstorm can hit the prairies at a moment's notice. We all know that. And although trees are smart, they still haven't mastered the weather apps on their smartphones in order to prepare for a storm. On instinct, they use all their mechanical and chemical wisdom to bud and to leaf in the spring without knowing what tomorrow might bring. They do it because it's time to do it, regardless of what human cruelty or kindness awaits them, regardless of what freak natural phenomenon might be right around the corner. The wisdom of trees is amazing. A tree gives the gift of its leaves, not knowing what may come of it in the future, simply because it's in its nature. The Fan brothers, in their picture book, The Night Gardener, that Gilda read for us and recorded this week. Thanks again to Gilda for doing that. Such a gift to us to hear her read and to hear her explain the pictures in that beautiful book. That gives us the story of a rundown and depressed Grimlock Lane. And William, our young boy, begins to notice the trees that are starting to be pruned and trimmed in the night into the shapes of whimsical animals. He and the whole town is intrigued and curious. What is going on? The morning discoveries of new shapes continues with more elaborate and wonderful creations. And William, too, is invited into the creation of these topiaries by the night gardener, and soon, not only are the residents of Grimlock Lane now looking up at the trees, they are now looking up at each other, something they weren't doing before. Color is restored to the street, from drab and black and white and sepia tones to the life and the hope and the restoration of seeing colors in new ways. So that bit, by the end of the story, the neighborhood has been transformed by the expression of one person's talent, the expression of the growing gift of one willing to give it. And when I hear Gilda read this story to us, I hear questions being asked of me, questions being asked of all of us. What small and secret thing am I able to do for someone? What tiny act of kindness will use whatever opportunity or talent we have to give to a neighbor, to give to a friend, to give to a total stranger, to give to this world? There's no denying it. There's much to fret about lately. There's much to weigh on our minds. The decisions of our daily lives are more difficult than they were before. And there is in our world anger and frustration. And in that drab to some, in that dreary to others world, what will be our small and quiet act that will restore color of life and a smile of wonder to someone who needs it? I want to read to you a poem by Michael Blumenthal entitled "Be Kind." Not merely because Henry James said there were but 4 rules of life: be kind, be kind, be kind, be kind, but because it's good for the soul, and what's more, for others. It may be that kindness is our best audition for a worthier world. There's weather arriving from every direction. The feasts of famine and feasts of plenty may yet prove to be won. So why not allow the little sacrificial squinches and squigulas to prevail? Why not inundate the particular world with minute particulars? Dust's certainly all our fate. So why not make it the happiest possible dust, a detritus of blessedness? Surely the hedgehog, furling and unfurling into its spiked little ball, knows something that with gentle touch and unthreatening tone can inure to our benefit. Surely the wicked witches of our childhood have died, and from where they are buried, a great kindness has eclipsed their misdeeds. Yes, of course, in the end, so much comes down to privilege and its various penumbras, but too much of our unruly animus has already been wasted on reprisals. Too much of the unblessed air is filled with smoke from undignified fires. Oh, friends, take whatever kindness you can find and be profligate in its expenditure. It will not drain your limited resources, I assure you. It will not leave you vulnerable and unfurled with only your sweet little claws to defend yourself. and your wet little noses, and your eyes to the ground, and your little feet. As the Chinese adage goes, the best time to plant a tree is 20 years ago. The second best time is today. Right now is the most needed time to let our kindness leaf out, to expend it as our natural resource, to reveal it into the warm and light days, not knowing what may come of it tomorrow, but doing it anyway. Why? Because it's part of our nature. It's part of us, part of our chemical and mechanical being. Another piece of wisdom from the Hebrew wisdom tradition in Proverbs: never let loyalty and kindness leave you. Write them on your heart. Kindness is one of those things that is a part of it, a part of us. We do write it on our hearts, and from there we choose how to let that kindness flow from us into the world. Will it be our time? Will it be the work of our hands? Will it be our words? Will it be expressed on our faces, even through our masks, to our kind eyes? What will kindness look like for you today? The Song of the Tree, as written by Jackie Kay and spoken by the children, remind us of our call to be tree-like in our kindness. From the last stanza of that poem: in the depths of the winter wood, the friendly tree stood, kind and good, and breathed a word that caught the mood, a pledge, a promise, a plea for good. May our pledge and promise be like that of the tree, a plea for goodness and kindness. May it be so for us in so many ways.
Grace and goodness flowing free.
have a few invitations to share with you today. The first of which is to join us tomorrow, Monday afternoon at 3 for our weekly check-in time. It's our perhaps online version of a coffee hour that we would have with one another following the gathering. We're doing it on Mondays at 3. Please join us. You have contact information for the Zoom link in the e-messenger you received on Friday, or if you've lost track of it or haven't received it, please contact us with the any of the contact information you find on your screen. I also want to invite you to be with us in a very special gathering this fall. It will be an online version of the Expressing Wonder Conference hosted and planned by SSUC Saskatoon. And it will be an opportunity to see the world with eyes wide open. There will be speakers, artists, music, an opportunity to engage, to have conversation with one another. There's lots of information on our website and more information to come. There's a registration form there, and we encourage you to have a look and to plan to set aside that time to be with us online the weekend of October 2 to 4. Have a look at the website, and I hope that you will register soon. I also want to invite you to support us in whatever way that you are able to. We recognize this is a difficult economic time for some. For others, there is the capacity to support what we do here at SSUC, either supporting us by a donation online or mailing a check to our address, which you find on the screen, or dropping off cash or a check here to the office on Thursdays. There's also a way to support us by purchasing grocery cards, and you can contact the office to set aside cards and have them delivered to you or picked up here at the church on Thursdays. I want to invite families with children who are kindergarten age up to grade 5 or so to be with us for our online children's summer camp. Compassion Camp will begin on August 4th and run from August 4th to 14th. There's lots more information on our website and more information to come. You can register there. Visit our website at ssuc.com/compassioncamp. Have a look. There will be lots more information coming in the next few weeks, and we hope that you will be with us. Again, in our gathering, we have an opportunity to sing with one another the words and music of Scott Kern as we sang it on October 6th in this space. We invite you to sing it in your place where you are just now.
It has been noted by the orchestra pit that this piece keeps changing keys and going up and up and up. And it was expressed as a beautiful challenge and a welcomed thing, right? I mean, I could have misinterpreted, but what I want you to catch with this, it's just a privilege to play this with you, is the idea of holding things up that are worthy. And by the time that we've gone up those keys and we're at the end and we're singing of compassion and justice and integrity, that's the pinnacle of what I would have deconstructed the word worship to be, to hold them up as worthy. So by the time we get up there, that's why it goes ascends like that. But then I have to say, are you playing? You're playing this? You with me? Oh. Oh. Whoa, whoa.
as we leave this part of our day and make our way into whatever's next, may we go with a spirit of kindness. May we know the giving nature of a tree, of all of the world's plants and creatures. May we go knowing that the light of community goes with us. I invite you to blow out your candle as I blow out this one, to change the light into something new, something that will take us into the rest of our days. And I invite you all to go with kindness, to offer who you are, the beauty of yourselves and your actions, your faces and your words, to offer them to each other and to strangers. Be safe, be kind, be well, and see you soon.